So greetings, everyone, and welcome to this evening's Meet the Candidates Forum for the 2020 UDC Alumni Trustees election. I'm Rodney Trapp, Vice President for Advancement, and I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to welcome the members of the Firebird Nation to this virtual space and so that you can hear about the wonderful things that are happening at the university, and you can hear from these incredible candidates who have joined us today. These candidates have met the eligibility requirements to get on the ballot. I want to take this opportunity to let you know that we miss you as alum here at the university, and we need you. Hopefully this will be the beginning of a period of expanded engagement and involvement in the life of the university. There's a lot going on at UDC, and we're committed in the Office of Alumni Affairs to making sure that you're in the know and you're well connected. But we're going to need your help. Many of you have moved over the years, you've gotten married, you've changed emails, you've changed telephone numbers, and we've lost touch. And so please reach out to us at alumni@udc.edu and provide us with your updated contact information. It's very important. Or give our new Director of Alumni Affairs and Outreach, Ms. Famika Murphy, a call. She's also an esteemed alumni, and she'll be happy to assist. The election this year is for the 3 representatives on the Board of Trustees. This election happens every 5 years. We had a huge level of participation in the nomination process. We had over 179 individuals participate. We had 42 individuals submit support of the nomination form. So we're looking forward to a record-breaking level of participation. Without further ado, may I introduce to you the current chairman of the UDC Board of Trustees, Mr. Christopher Bell, Esquire, for a few remarks.
All right. Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate that introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher Bell, and I'm the chair of the Board of Trustees, and it's my distinct pleasure to be able to speak to you for a few moments about this very important decision with respect to the election of new trustees. In my view, I think the trustees, the UDC alumni trustees, are some of the most important trustees on the board. And the reason why is you embody the past, the present, and the future. You embody the past in that you were a student at the university and you've received your degree, and you remember what it was like when you were at the university, all the great things and the challenges that we have. You reflect on the present because hopefully your degree is helping you with your career and your life goals and achieving what you want out of life. But also you have a lens to the future, and you're able to see what the university can be and what it should be for others. And so with that, it's my distinct pleasure to recognize you and recognize how important this occasion is and this day, because we need the trustees. You play a vital role. The university is moving in so many directions in terms of student growth, in terms of attracting faculty, creating degree programs, but we also have challenges like Dr. Rodney Trapp said, and we're looking for you to help give us insight as trustees, as alumni trustees on the board, to help us figure out these solutions. So again, welcome. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this forum, and I look forward to meeting the trustees in person, whoever they may be, and continuing to work with them, because the trustees truly play a critical, very important role on the board. And so with that, I'll conclude my remarks. I've been asked to introduce a man that doesn't need much of an introduction, and that's John Gordon. John is the director of our communications, and he's been in this role since August of 2014. He oversees internal, external communications and marketing projects, including developing promotional materials and scripting for the university. And so with that, I will leave the floor and yield to John Gordon. John, are you on? I don't know. Do we know if he is on? He may be having some challenges. I know that I had challenges as well logging in. Is that you, John?
I believe I'm here.
Okay, excellent.
All right. Good evening, everyone. And thank you, Chairman Bell and Vice President Trapp, for inviting me to participate in the Candidates Forum. We're going to get started with our rules of engagement. And we'll begin with allowing the candidates 2 minutes for introductions. And once the candidate begins speaking, A series of short beeps will indicate when that 2 minutes is up. A timer will begin with the start of their introduction. Once the Q&A begins, candidates will have 1 minute to respond to the questions. And we ask that each candidate be mindful of the time. Anyone going over their time for answering questions will be muted. Candidates will not have an opportunity to ask questions of the other candidates. We do encourage alumni, however, to email their questions to alumni@udc.edu and to post questions to the Webex Q&A. This forum is also being streamed on UDC Alumni Facebook page, and alumni are welcome to post questions here as well, www.facebook.com/universityofdc.alumni/. At this time, we are going to start with our candidate introductions, and they will present themselves in alphabetical order, starting with our first candidate, Mr. Bernard M. Grayson, Jr.
Thank you for that great introduction, John. Thank you, Vice President Trapp. Thank you, Director Bell. Before I get started, I'd like to make a small note to the people that actually made it possible for me to be here. I want to say that out loud to everyone that nominated me for to be on this ballot. And I thank Mr. Trapp for making sure that we've had full participation. It is with great pride and deep appreciation that I send this communication to you. Thank you for your support in my petition of the UDC alumni representative on the Board of Trustees. As I stated, I've officially made this ballot because of your help. I am honored by your support and work hard to keep the trust that you have placed in me. As a member of the UDC Board of Trustees, I will be a champion for equitable growth and financial responsibility as we come out of the current global pandemic and the economic downturn. We need to support the students, alumni, faculty, and staff of the University of the District of Columbia in this time and put everybody back on the path to prosperity. Our leaders must be active, accountable, bold, progressive. Pragmatic solutions are needed at this time. That's what I'm prepared to do in these times. And I want you all to know we'll just get started. I still need your vote. After this forum tonight, please meet me on my website, bernardgraysonjr.com, BERNARDJR.com. The university will be sending out further information in regards to our election shortly. I think your ballot's already on the way. And I again implore you, please contact me if you have anything. I want to hear from you, and I'll respond to each of your contacts. I look forward to working together with each and every one of you as we move the University of the District of Columbia forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grayson. At this time, for her 2-minute introduction, I'd like to call on candidate Dr. Mildred L. Musgrove.
The mic is not on.
As long as I'm able. I start by telling you that I received all of my education in the District of Columbia. First in DC Public Schools, grades 1 through 12, then at DC Teachers College, which is now also part of the University of the District of Columbia. I received my bachelor's degree in English. I received my master's degree in English from Trinity College, and I received my doctoral degree in administration and curriculum from the George Washington University. I was employed in the District of Columbia public school system for my entire career, with some part-time work on the as I was going through the school system. I was a writer, I was a teacher, a principal, an assistant superintendent, a chief of staff, a chief academic officer. I loved each job that I had because it put me where children are. After leaving DC public school system, I worked as part-time in the Multicultural Resource Center. This was a project under the federal government to help parents become more educated in their children's education. In addition, I worked at the American University as an adjunct professor, and I spent 10 years at Federal City College as an adjunct professor. After retirement, I still remain active in organizations. I am a member of the Senior High School Alliance of Parents, Principals, and Educators. I'm a member of the DC Retired Educators Association. I serve on the board of directors of the 21st Century School Fund. I'm a member of the American University chapter of Phi Delta Kappa. I've held offices as president, treasurer, and newsletter editor in that organization. I also am a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Rho Mu Omega chapter.
Thank you, Dr. Musgrove. At this time, we'd like to call upon Trustee Barrington Scott to introduce himself. Trustee Scott.
He's muted.
Ms. Palmer, can you unmute Trustee Scott? Trustee Scott, can you check your microphone, please, sir?
Hello?
We hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Introduce yourself, sir. Please introduce yourself.
Good evening, Firebird alumni. I'm Barrington Scott, your native Washingtonian and your immediate past alumni representative to the UDC Board of Trustees. As your representative, I will continue to collaborate with our current executive board that we have in place and to guide our university into the next century with excellence. I will serve as an advocate with transparency as your alumni trustee. I love UDC, and I've made a commitment to support our university, working with the UDC Foundation. And in 2017, I was recognized with the UDC Pathmakers Award for my philanthropic effort and raising funds for the university. As a trustee, I was able to revitalize our student chapter of the NAACP with the help of President Ronald Mason, Esquire, and Dr. William Latham. Our charter was reactivated. We had 50 active student leaders, and the university did send 30 students to the national conference and 2 to the Image Awards. In 2017, I established the Academic Excellence Award, which recognizes 10 of our best and brightest academic graduating seniors each year with a paver on campus. To date, we have 30 candidates who've received that award. As a certified therapeutic recreation specialist and director in healthcare profession, I continue to be an advocate for our UDC nursing program. We have established internships and job placement for our nursing students, and I'm extremely proud of this. I continue to have great experience in working with the past board, and we've done some wonderful things, and I look forward to your continued support. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Scott, for your introduction. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, please meet candidate Antoinette Tony White Richardson, who will introduce herself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Antoinette Tony, as many people know me, White Richardson. I'm a 1995 graduate of the University of the District of Columbia with a master's in adult education. I come to you today with all my energy and passion that I have to support the university. I want to tell you some things that are not written in my bio, but some things that are written. I'm a 1980 graduate of the George Washington University, where I received a 4-year scholarship. I'm also a lifetime member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. I'm a lifetime member of the Alumni Society. I say this because commitment is important, and I'm that kind of person. I'm always in it, not only to win it, but to stay the course. I'm a native Washingtonian, 6 generations, and as I tell people, with good paperwork. I have been a member of the Alumni Society for over 10 years, and I was very, very instrumental in establishing a scholarship from the Alumni Society that funds incoming students as well as current students who are residents of the District of Columbia. One of the things and sayings that I like most that says that to whom much is given, much is expected. I've always charted that road and I've kept it going forth. And some things I'm so very proud of have been how I'm a community activist. I am out in the community doing things such as being part of the Delta Housing Corporation, which is currently building a multi-million-dollar building for senior citizens in Ward 5. I've also been part of the One Fund campaign at the District of Columbia for the District of Columbia employees, and we raised over $2 million. I could go on, but
Okay, the mic was cut, so I assume that we have concluded with the introductions. Thank you for those introductions and for sharing your biographical sketch, which demonstrates the university's pivotal role in your personal growth and professional development. As we begin our questions, and I will select candidates randomly to answer each of the questions, I want to say that the university is grateful for your willingness to participate in this election. And the first question has to do with what led to your decision to run on the seat, to run for a seat on UDC's Board of Trustees. We'd also like you to share with the audience how you currently engage UDC leadership and alumni in matters that strengthen the university community. And how did your time at UDC impact the way you lead in your community, your profession, civic organizations, or house of worship? So I think we'll start with Mr. Grayson. Again, thank you for your participation, and tell us what led to your decision to run for a seat on UDC's Board of Trustees.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that question. Actually, it goes back to my time as a student at the university. I was fortunate enough to have a mentor by the name of Dr. Clemmy Solomon. At that time at the university, trying to figure out my way, how to be a great student leader, how to navigate the rest of my life. And I remember the day that Dr. Solomon pulled me to the side and he said, Bernard, if you ever want to really impact change at this university, your long-term goal should be to become a board of the trustees. I mean, a member of the board of trustees, excuse me. And we're talking 2004, 2005. That's when I was student body president. And those words have stayed with me and a friend of mine, William Killebrew, for a number of years. We were in the hallway. We had to have some very difficult conversations with administration back at that time. And no matter how difficult we may have been or cantankerous it may have seemed that we were as student leaders, they believed in us and they told us that they saw something greater in us. And not to use all my time, but that's why I'm here today. I'm trying to hold true to Dr. Solomon's words.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. White Richardson, would you answer that question, please? Please share with us what led to your decision to run for a seat on UDC's Board of Trustees.
my experience at the university was so positive and it was so enlightening and it was very nurturing that I wanted to give back. And it has come out in the form of also wanting to live to the legacy that my family has had in going to the university. I have had many mentors that have come from the university in all walks of my life. And when I ask them and they tell me where they went to school, they went anywhere from Miners Teachers College to DC Teachers to Federal City. So it is my yearning to want to give back to this institution that represents my District of Columbia.
Thank you. Trustee Scott, would you please answer the question, what led to your decision to run for a seat on UDC's Board of Trustees?
Well, prior to 2015, served the District of Columbia as an ANC chair, also a member of the, started the Calvin Coolidge Alumni Association as a co-founder, and worked with various organizations, Kappa Alpha Psi, the past president. And in 2015, my mother, who was also a graduate from UDC, passed. And I said that I had done a lot of community service, did a lot of things, but I'd never taken the time to give back to the university. And so in 2015, with the support of many of the alumni, I had the opportunity to serve the last 5 years as an alumnus, and has supported every initiative given to the university. I bought 2 pavers. I supported our just recent fund to raise money for the students' COVID. And in fact, I raised the most money for the Alumni Association, which is the reason that I was received the UDC Pathmakers Award. So this commitment is here. It's true. It's something that I want to do, and I'm really excited about the possibilities to continue to work as we have put down some things in place to hopefully have dorms at our campus in the future.
Thank you, Trustee Scott. And Dr. Musgrove, would you please answer the question, what led to your decision to run for a seat on UDC's Board of Trustees?
Well, I guess I go back to when Dr. Paul Cook was the president of the university. I was on the yearbook staff and had an office directly across from his. And he always talked to us about the importance of staying involved with the institute that gave you your bachelor's degree. So many of us forget or go on and, don't give back as much as we should. So I've been working conscientiously to give back. In my employment, I also ran across children who had very little knowledge of the University of the District of Columbia. I was able to work with them and the counselors in the school to help them understand that great people came out of UDC, and we want great people to enter UDC. I feel that being a member of the Board of Trustees, I can give my time and my talents to those efforts to keep the institution going forward and making progress for the students in the District of Columbia. I do not discount students coming from any other part of the country or the world, but I am very much interested in helping DC public school students, public school and public charter school students come to the University of the District of Columbia.
I thank each of you for your responses. Let's move on to question number 2. Of course, you all know that UDC is a legacy institution of Minor Teachers College, Wilson Teachers College, DC Teachers College, Federal City College, Washington Technical Institute, and the Antioch School of Law. We have benefited from 169 years of visionary and tenacious leadership, and we remain committed to offering DC residents a high-quality education. Would you share with our audience how you might bring the strength and talents of our stellar ranks of alumni together to form one voice on behalf of this university? And we'll start with Trustee Scott.
Yes, I can say that I had the opportunity first as the captain of the UDC first team, football team. So I was part of that transition from Federal City College to the University District of Columbia. And so I'm able to reach back. It's ironic that many of our students at Calvin Coolidge High School, where we started an Alumni Association in 1982, are encouraged and have been encouraged to come to the university. We were able to start this year to make that a school for allied health and allied health, which now we have a feeder to our community college at right there at Banneker. So we are continuing to surface ourselves to bring forth connections throughout the city. I work in Ward 7. I've lived in Ward 4. I've been an ANC commissioner, so I'm always encouraging folks. I serve as a deacon of my church, and it just so happened that a week prior to the president coming to our church, we were not able to have him come, but I serve on the committee that actually promotes education and provides opportunities for kids to go to college.
Okay, Mr. Grayson, would you please answer the question how you might bring together the strength and talents of our ranks of alumni to form one voice for the university?
Again, thank you, John, for the question. I greatly appreciate it. I want to go back to the words of VP Trapp at the beginning of this session. Alumni, we need you. It doesn't matter what year you graduated from the University of the District of Columbia or any of our predecessor schools, we need you. As alumni representatives to the Board of Trustees, we are here to be your voice, to be your one sound, to be your drum, to be your advocate, and no matter what is going on within Washington, D.C., and as of right now, globally. You have issues and concerns. We are one school at this moment in time, the last time I checked. But we are here to make sure that any predecessor school or institution has a voice, and I will be your voice. I need your vote, everyone. And at the end of that, before I can do anything, I need alumni engagement to increase. Mr. Trapp asked for your help, and now I'm asking for your help. We can do this. We were built for this. Firebirds rise from the ashes. And once again, in this global pandemic, we will do it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grayson. Mrs. White Richardson, would you please answer the question how you might bring together our alumni to form one voice on behalf of this university?
I think it's important that we have visibility. I think what we're lacking sometimes is being put out in all areas, not only in a technological kind of way, but in other forms of communication where we become visible to the alumnus, to say to them, we need you to come home. And I have found from speaking to quite a few alumnus that all they want is an ask. All they want to do is be invited. So I would like to be that person who reaches out and invites them to come back home, to be a part of this great institution so that we can all be one voice. One thing that has been hit upon, that this is an institution that came together from several institutions. And there are people who are still living from all of the several institutions. But as they say, when you come home, you become one. So to the alumni, I would say, please come home, come back to where you started, and let's plant this tree even firmer in the ground so we can continue to grow and continue to be the legacy that it has and meant to be.
Thank you, Madam, for your enthusiastic response to that question. And finally, Dr. Musgrove, would you please respond to the question how you might bring together the ranks of our alumni to form one voice on behalf of UDC?
Well, one of the things I've been blessed to do is to meet so many alumni from the various schools, from the Minor Teacher College, from DC Teachers, Washington Tech. My husband's a graduate of Federal City. I have a niece who graduated from the law school. So I'm meeting alumni almost every day on a regular basis, and I'm encouraging them to understand the importance of the oneness of the University of the District of Columbia. Yes, we may have degrees that say DC Teachers or Federal City, but we are one. And the only way that our university can grow and become all that we know it can be is that we come together to work, to bring the alumni together to support the programs, but most importantly, the students of the University of the District of Columbia as they work to achieve some of the things we've achieved as a result of our stellar educations from the University of the District of Columbia.
All right, thank you, Dr. Musgrove, and I'm going to ask you to hold on to the microphone to start off our next round of questions. In 2018, the university released its strategic plan, the Equity Imperative, a strategic plan to regenerate the University of the District of Columbia as a public higher education model of urban student success. The Equity Imperative endeavors to be a source of higher educational attainment, inclusivity, diversity, creativity, research, urban resilience, and rooted in the community that we serve. How might alumni support the university's strategic plan, and what will you do if elected to the board in that role to ensure that the alumni are engaged?
One of the things I hope I'm able to do is to continue building my association with alumni, helping them to understand, as I said, the importance of the University of the District of Columbia in the life, not only of our city, but more importantly, in the life of our young people in our city. I would hope that in looking at where we are now and the things that can help us go beyond that, bringing alumni, because as I stated before, we have some of the most talented people I've ever met in my life with degrees from the University of the District of Columbia. If we are able to get the listing, and all of us know people who may not be involved, but I hope that what we can do is work together to get a listing of alumni who have not been involved, get them involved, and then work to categorize their various talents that can be used to support the faculty, the students, and to make sure that our strategic plan is a reality and not something that gathers dust on a shelf.
Thank you very much, Dr. Musgrove. Let's move on to Trustee Scott to answer that question. Trustee Scott, how would you engage the alumni in support of the university's strategic plan, the Equity Imperative?
Well, John, as you well know, I was a part of that strategic group that have been working on that as well. One of the things that we first tried to do is to get the stigma, the bad publicity that was given to the university over the years, and we tried to make alumni feel important, and make the university and the students feel great about coming to the university. We've strengthened the ties with the mayor as well as the cabinet that she has, the city council, and we have built relationships down on Capitol Hill. And now we're beginning to get funded for the things that we want to do. We've shown that through working with our students, with providing raises to our professors, that now we're getting the kind of results that we've been looking for over 10 or 20 years. And I'm just so excited to have been a part of that and would love to continue our efforts. We have been renovating our buildings. We've got a commitment from the mayor to bring the archives up to the university. We've just purchased a building back. And so we're just moving forward, and we've addressed our international students. We've tried to bring transparency to the students and to the university, and we're committed to making a difference. As you well know, the Institute.
Thank you, Trustee Scott. Let's move on to Ms. White Richardson. How would you engage the alumni in support of our strategic plan, the Equity Imperative, which endeavors UDC to be a source of research, urban resilience, and higher educational attainment?
One of the things I think that needs to take place is I need the alumni to come back and volunteer and help us to update our database. That is a very, very significant part of the outreach. Without good information, as Mr. Rodney Trapp said earlier, we can't reach you, we can't find you, so we need to get a hold of you. And then once we get a hold of you, we can't let you go. We have to give you something very positive to do, something that is sustainable, such as asking you to donate to make scholarships for people who attend the university, to also ask you to come and see that the university is diverse. I'm up there, I've seen it. UDC is much more diverse than when I was there in 1995. I can attest to that. So it is already on its way to that level of success. So what I want to do, when I say visible, I think we need to show up everywhere. They need to see that UDC logo and have pride in it and understand what it means. And whether that's putting it on the bus stops or on the buses, in other organizations, magazines, and Mr. Gordon, I gotta say, I like the one that you do, and we need to get that beyond just the university group, just that small group. We need to send that out and make it available so they can see where we look good. We are there, just people just don't know it. We're a well-kept secret.
Thank you, Ms. White Richardson. And finally, Mr. Grayson, in answering this question, how might you engage and increase alumni support to help us attain our equity imperative?
Thank you, John. I try to make sure that I get all this in the 1 minute. I'd like to remind everybody of the top 3 things that are actually in the equity imperative. UDC will be a public higher education model of urban student success by 2022. UDC will award more degrees and workforce credentials by 2022. UDC will graduate passionate leaders and leaders who will transform our lives and urban spaces as we endeavor for this completion of the equity imperative by 2022. Our outcomes, again, are higher degree enrollment, higher degree completions, higher graduation rates, higher retention rates, workforce development enrollment, and higher industry certifications across the board with everything that we do at the university. In regards to what I intend to do to get some of these things done with alumni engagement, I'd like to continue stakeholder groups. I want to have more parent groups where we actually get to talk to the parents of our students that are at the university. I think their voice is often unheard in a lot of the things that we do. And finally, I think that we can do more for the Office of Community Engagement. We're asking them to do some yeoman's task over in Ward 7 and 8, and they need a lot more support than the small office that they have. If we can make sure that they have the funding that they need to actually bang the drum, to be the advocate, to do the things that we're asking the university to do east of the river, I think that a lot of our alum that live in those neighborhoods will come back in droves.
All right, thank you, sir. This next round of questions has to do with your personal experiences as a student at UDC. And thinking back on your time here, what are your most memorable moments that you'd like to share with the listening audience? And what is the most valuable lesson that you want UDC students and alumni to know about your UDC experience? Let's start with you, Trustee Scott.
Well, I can say that back in the 80s, with the approval of the student government, I was selected as one of the students to be a representative or to be a city representative to organize the holiday bill for Dr. Martin Luther King. At that time of doing that, organizing with American University, Georgetown University, Howard University, UDC, had no idea the impact that it would give me in my life. I took that stepping stone and continued it in my community in Ward 4. I came in as just a community advocate to make or to build some to make sure that we had recreation facilities and new schools. As you see, the District of Columbia now has moved forward with that, and I just didn't know that the impact that I would make. But my colleagues chose me as the chair for that group. UDC has provided many.
All right, thank you, Trustee Scott, and we're going to ask you the same question, Mr. Grayson. What are your most memorable moments thinking back on your time as a student at UDC, and what would you like to share with our audience about that experience?
Well, John, a lot of people are going to think that I'm going to talk about my time in student government. That actually wasn't what led me to be student government president. I'd have to actually say my greatest moments was a member of the Striders Marching Band. I graduated high school in 1992. By the time I arrived at UDC in 93, we didn't have a basketball team anymore. We had an amazing marching band. I played in my high school marching band, and I heard them playing across the yard one day. I walked on the band. Literally, I played trombone. The family that I met in that marching band, and we were probably about 150, 200 strong. If you talk to Stu sometime, he'll tell you about our marching band. That was the year that Howard went undefeated in the MEAC. We actually got to play at Howard and A&T's homecoming. It was A&T's homecoming game. And I went down with UDC and we played the post game. And the sound that came out of that band and the family and the friends that I made, no matter where I traveled, I always knew that I would come back to UDC and finish my.
Thank you so much, Mr. Grayson. And Dr. Musgrove, tell us about your time at DC Teachers College. What were your most memorable moments?
Well, a memorable moment for me was before I actually got into the school, when I learned that my tuition would be $35 a semester and that the cost of my books would be about $50 for the year. That was very memorable because did not have money, and that was very memorable for me. But one of the best moments I had was returning to the university as an instructor. In 1974, I came back to the university as an instructor, and to walk in and remember some of the teachers who had taught me, Estelle Taylor, Margaret Jackson, Teresa Brown. It all came back to me in flashes, and I found myself, I've always found myself trying to model what they gave to me. The sense that there was nothing I could not do if I put my mind to it, whether it was writing an English composition or becoming the editor of the school yearbook.
Thank you, Dr. Musgrove. And finally, for this question, Ms. White Richardson, can you tell us about your memorable moments at UDC?
Dr. Judith Christian. She was my professor in adult education, which at the time was one of the few programs in the entire area that had a master's degree. She talked about excellence in a way that I can't even begin to describe to anybody except to say, that's what you wanted to be. You wanted to be excellent. So my time at the University District of Columbia was one of excellence. I also became the president of the Graduate Student Association Adult Education Program. I also enjoyed one fun time by being in that position. I helped to bring Sounds of Blackness to the university as a program, and it was well attended. It was an awesome success, and it was just being part of the university family. Last but not least, and this is a funny part, I was a little older when I did graduate school, but I was also there during the protest time. Remember during the 90s protests? And I remember coming out of class and I went and joined them in the street, and that's all I'm going to say.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. White Richardson. Our next question has to do with these challenging times in which we are living right now. The nation is grappling with a global pandemic and is forced to face systemic racism in all sectors of the American experience. Currently, there are conversations going on regarding restructuring police departments, increased funding for safety net programs, and increased funding for mental health. How might UDC be a part of these conversations that move the District of Columbia forward, and how might UDC alumni contribute? Let's start with Dr. Musgrove.
As I indicated earlier, some of the most intelligent people I've met in my life are graduates of the University of the District of Columbia. When you sit around and you talk about the kinds of things that are going on now, from the pandemic to the racism that exists and how to work with it, to defunding police and things like that, you look at people who have been out in the workforce working, who have marvelous ideas to bring. As a member of the trustee board, an alumni representative, I want to begin to bring those people in, not just to send out the request for membership or announcements about events, but I would love for them to become a part of what we do every day. And when I say the alumni, I mean anyone who is an alumni of any one of the institutions that make up the University of the District of Columbia. We must all come together as a group. And I believe that one of the ways we can do that is get a strong database where we can reach all of our members.
Okay, I'm going to have Ms. White Richardson to also respond to that question. How might university alumni contribute to solving some of the problems that we're faced with today?
I think the university alumni can come together in a task force form in order to put the ideas out there so that they can be implemented. I think And like I said, they want to be asked. And I think sometimes we just look for them just to come to us and hoping that we reach them. But sometimes it's picking up the telephone. And particularly when you talk about our older alumni, a call will do it. It's called a call to action. And if we take that platform and use it, I believe that we can come together and have some resolve on some of the issues that are out there plaguing our country.
All right. Let me get Trustee Scott to respond to that question.
Yes, John, many of our alumnus have spoken to me about Afro-American studies being brought back to the curriculum of our university. They came up during the time when Gil Scott-Heron was a professor at the university, and many of our students protested to make sure that we could stay up on that campus. I believe that bringing our alumnus back for career fairs, getting them interested in the university again, seeing what we're doing. And I can just let you know that during this past Founders Day, many of our alumnus come back and they talked about justice, human rights, racial tension, brutality. And of course, you know, the university is now getting ready to open an institute for the study of the elimination of white supremacy in America. And so we are doing our part, and we'll continue. Our students have always been advocates for change. Again, we have 50 students now working with the NAACP who are now leaders and making a difference at UDC.
And finally, on this question, Mr. Grayson, can you share with us your thoughts on how we might engage the alumni in contemporary issues?
Thanks again, John. In respect to engaging alumni on contemporary issues, John, I'm going to say keep doing what you're doing. I support President Mason 100%. As Trustee Scott just said, I applaud the creation of the Institute of the Elimination of White Supremacy at the University of the District of Columbia. I have taken a knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds every day since day one, along with President Mason, to show everyone that he has alumni support. I've gotten calls from all over the country and actually across the globe to speak about the great things that President Mason is doing and how he is moving the needle. And I say that with him and the current board in the things that they are doing. Alumni can start to see the good work. They can start to see that they have some place that they can go and have an outlet to voice all of their concerns, whether they be protesting, whether they be giving money, whether they be advocating, as the president also needs for us to do with City Council. We still have to hold DC City Council accountable for the amount of dollars that they have promised us and not given us to date.
Thank you, Mr. Grayson. Ms. Palmer, could you share with our audience the website where they can give questions that they'd like to have our candidates to answer? Okay, I don't have that information in front of me. But I think that we can have your questions sent via Facebook or sent via the Webex platform. Moving forward, I'd like to give each of you an opportunity to talk about your leadership experience and how your time at UDC has impacted the way you lead in your profession, in the community, in civic organizations, or in your house of worship. We just want to know the skill set that you bring to this role as a UDC trustee. And I want to start with you, Mr. Grayson, since you held the mic last.
Thank you. There's an old saying, the community leads and politicians follow. So for me, just moving forward, my leadership style is I want to know, what does my constituency want? What does my team want? What are the needs that they have? What are the wants that they have? And how can I use this platform to make sure that they, their families, and their citizens are able to achieve that? I'm a very open person. Looking forward to working with everyone. but we still have a long way to go. We need your votes. We need you to participate in your civic duty as a Firebird right now. And from there, we can all move forward.
Mr. Scott?
I can tell you over the last couple of years, my passion has always been fundraising, trying to raise funds, getting our alumnus back involved. I can tell you one of my greatest achievements over the last 2 years was getting 2 alumnus who were past Grand Masters, one with the District of Columbia Prince Hall Masons and one with the District of Columbia Grand Lodge Mason. Both were business school graduates, and both came together on the 300th anniversary of Masonry in the United States. And we can boast that we have the only plaque, Masonic plaque, in any university, on any university campus that represents both the Black and the white Masons. And they didn't just come for that particular reason, but they also donated over $300,000 to the business school. So that's the kind of thing that I like to do, build partnerships and also bring money to the university. That's my strength.
All right. And Dr. Musgrove, your skills in leadership, what do you bring to this role as a prospective Board of Trustees member?
Well, someone once said to me, you only lead if someone follows. And I believe that if you are in a position of leadership, you have to set a style where people will want to follow you, will want to participate, will want to get involved. And we should be setting that style so that alumni will say, they're doing the things that are going to make this university grow and prosper, and I want to be a part of it. But we can never forget them. And as I mentioned before, something that may seem minor, like a database of alumni, becomes a major part of what we need to do so that we can draw all people in, so that we don't leave anyone out, no matter which of the schools they graduated from. It is important that we demonstrate that we want them and we need them as leaders, because we are not truly leading if we don't have a following.
And finally, before we get to closing comments, we'll have Ms. White Richardson to answer that question about the leadership skills that she brings to this role. Ms. White Richardson.
She's muted.
Ms. Palmer, if you're at the controls, can you check Ms. White Richardson's microphone? Otherwise, Ms. White Richardson, if you can hear me, if you would check your microphone, please, madam. Well, we're going to move on to closing remarks. And Mr. Scott, if you would start the round of 2-minute closing remarks.
Yes, I'd just like to say again, I ask for your support to continue in the role as an alumnus trustee. I look forward to working with the UDC National Association Society to get its bylaws and retain our 501(c)(3). I want to continue to work with our sports program. This in 2019, I had the pleasure of being inducted into UDC Hall of Fame, and so I want to see if we can rename our athletic building after one of our alumnus and 2 of our Hall of Famers, the E.B. Henderson and Will Jones Fieldhouse. E.B. Henderson was a graduate in 1904, Midas Teachers College. He's considered the godfather of basketball. He's been inducted to the NBA and Hall of Fame. Of course, Will Jones, Coach Jones, was the first person to bring a national title at UDC and to the District of Columbia. And so why not name that building after an alumnus and the first coach that did such a wonderful thing for our school to put us on the map.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Ms. White Richardson, can you hear me? We seem to be having some technical difficulties with Ms. White Richardson, so we'll continue to hold off for her comments. Mr. Grayson, can you give us your 2 minutes of closing remarks?
Thank you, John, again. As a member of the UDC Board of Trustees, I will be a champion for equitable growth and financial responsibility as we come out of the global pandemic and economic downturn. We need to support the students and alumni of the University of DC and the citizens of the District of Columbia in this time to continue to put everyone on a path to prosperity. The alumni of the University of the District of Columbia deserve a passionate, professional, committed representative to the University Board of Trustees. To be effective in this position, the alumni should expect and demand character, commitment, and competency. If elected as your alumni representative, I can offer the following: the ability to motivate people to serve, excellent organizational, interpersonal, and communication skills, as well as continued relationships with the current alumni network and university leadership. My goals in this role would be to ensure that alumni are well informed with alumni updates and engagement, to increase support and resources for alumni through the Office of Career Services and the Office of Community Outreach. And finally, to actively be your voice for all alumni when it relates to major decisions by the Board of Trustees. Everyone, I need you to vote. I don't care if you don't choose me, you need to vote for one of these qualified candidates on this panel tonight. We need to hear your voice. We need you actively engaged. Please participate. And thank you, John.
You're quite welcome. And Dr. Musgrove, would you give us your closing comments, please, ma'am?
Yes, I have a strong interest in education, always have. I received my education from the University of the District of Columbia, and I want to give back and encourage all alumni to get involved and give back and work collaboratively in a supportive manner with the staff, with the students of the university to ensure that we reach high, that we aspire to achieve even greater heights, that we accomplish to achieve even greater successes, and that we take on the world. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I can only assume that the tremendous storm that I'm hearing over my house is what probably has knocked Ms. White Richardson out of the conversation. We'll give her an opportunity if she returns before we close out. But at this time, I'd like to call again upon Vice President Rodney Trapp to offer a few announcements. It appears as though Vice President Trapp also is no longer with us.
John, can you hear me?
I hear you now, sir, yes.
Okay. Can you see me?
I cannot see you.
Okay. I don't know.
Well, we can hear your voice, so why don't you go ahead and offer any remarks that you want to bring in closing?
Sure. This has been an incredibly rich and engaging session. I am really excited about the future of not only our alumni body, but the leadership that is coming on to the Board of Trustees. I think that all the candidates are very strong and very committed and are true Firebirds to the core. And I'm very excited and thrilled about that. And I'm also excited that we're getting folks engaged in a very meaningful way. The election process is on your screen. You'll probably see that information about the ballots and the election process. You should be receiving by now the ballots in the mail. They started going out last week. The voting ends on July 13th at 5 p.m. If you have any questions, if you do not receive your ballot, please contact Yes Elections. The number for Yes Elections is also on the slide. or you can email their help desk. That's the first point of contact. If you are not getting through, feel free to contact alumni@udc.edu, and we will help to problem solve in any way. We are also continuing a tribute in memorializing George Floyd. As Mr. Grayson indicated, we have committed to take a knee every night, and we're going to be starting that later on this evening. And we'll be going through Saturday, where we will have a candlelight vigil starting at 8 p.m. on this coming Saturday. So if you are able and you feel safe, please do come out and participate with us. We will not be spending a lot of time. It's not going to be a long program, but we do want to pay respects. The lights will be dimmed, and we will have illuminated candles there that we will light for the 8 minutes and 45 seconds. So please participate in that. And also, this coming fall, it's the 50th anniversary of the class of 1970. And so we are very excited. We're talking to folks, and we're wanting to do something very special for the 50th anniversary and the class of 1970, and to have a special homecoming this year. So stay tuned for information about homecoming and about the 50th anniversary celebration. And we will be sending you information via email, also on our alumni Facebook page and Twitter accounts. And so we're doing a lot of things through social media, but we'll also be sending things to the mail as well for those that are not active on email or the internet. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Vice President Trapp. And with those remarks, we're going to conclude our candidates forum. On behalf of the President and the Chairman of the Board of Trustees, I thank each of the candidates for your interest in playing a leadership role at UDC. And for those who have been watching virtually, we thank you for your participation. Have a good evening.